Estate Radio starts right now.
You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio, and we're back with David Ellis. He is a senior research scientist at Texas A&M's Transportation Institute, and we were talking with him last segment. Lots of great information. Each week we bring you industry news and information that you can use on your real estate transaction. And if you have a question, you can always call us at 281-882-8088. Make sure you join us on Facebook. We post all of our videos from the show on Facebook, and you can find more information about David Ellis and all of our other guests at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. Before the break, we have been talking about some funding sources for our transportation system. So, David, I'll let you go ahead and continue on with that.
Yeah, just to finish the thought, one of the fundamental problems with the gasoline tax, which has been our major mechanism for funding roadways, is that it is not sensitive to inflation in the sense that our gasoline tax in Texas has been at 20 cents a gallon since 1991. Mm-hmm. So not only do we lose purchasing power every year because of increased fuel efficiency, the other thing that works against us is that every year roadways, just like everything else, cost a little bit more.
And that 20 cents is worth a little bit less each year with inflation.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it becomes TxDOT is fighting an increasingly difficult battle with an increasingly shorter stick, mm-hmm. and that's really a hard problem to deal with, which is why you have seen us turn to more and more toll roads as an example, as a way to fund transportation improvements.
Now, do things like hot lanes, is that funding for increasing the road capacity as well?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, that hot lanes and any kind of pay for use, if you will, whether they're individual lanes within an existing roadway or an entirely new roadway that may be all tolled, all of those things are ways to fund transportation. Basically, you borrow the money in some shape, form, or fashion to build the improvement, and then you service that debt with the revenue stream that's generated by the toll revenues, and that's basically the way that works. Obviously, there's tons of variations, but fundamentally, that's what the deal is.
So toll roads are with us to stay, I guess.
Well, I think so. I mean, and they provide a way to again fund transportation improvements and to be paid for by those who use that particular roadway. All of these things, so whether we talk about a gasoline tax, whether we talk about tolls, or even things like vehicle mile travel fees, for example, which is one way down the road, not next year, the year after, but we could conceivably look at in terms of the policymakers could look as a means of funding roadways. All of those things, basically, there is no road ferry. Somebody has to pay for these improvements somewhere, and whether it's through a gasoline tax, vehicle registration fees, tolls, a VM fee, something or another, mm-hmm. we have to generate some way to pay for these improvements.
When you go through Houston, just driving around, there's road construction all over the place, which really makes you think that we have a lot of funding for roads because they're just popping up all over the place. You see roads being widened, and you see the new parts of the Grand Parkway going in. What would you say to that?
Well, you're right. That's there's a lot of construction going on in our major metropolitan areas for a couple of reasons. One of which, state policymakers have really tried to focus on the most severe congestion problems to their credit. Secondly, the reason we're able to do that is because basically we've put these roads on the credit card, if you will. We have issued through Proposition 14, Proposition 12, the Texas Mobility Fund. All of these programs are debt programs in a sense where the state goes out and borrows the money. And then in the case of Proposition 12 and Proposition 14, that authorized, they were constitutional amendments that the people voted on and approved to issue this debt to fund transportation improvements. And so what has to happen is that the tax revenue that comes in from vehicle registration fees and gasoline taxes then has to service that debt. Now, you can do improvements in the short term to your transportation system using debt, but that is not a sustainable long-term policy. At some point, you have to stop borrowing money.
Right.
You know, it's just like if you go out and get a brand new MasterCard. Well, MasterCard's not going to let you charge on that forever. You know, at some point they're going to call and say, hey, I think you're close to the limit here.
You know, and I hear that Texas is very well adjusted economically. I mean, we hear that a lot, that we're doing great compared to other states. So I'm assuming other states are having much worse problems coming up with funding for roads. Is that accurate?
Yes, Texas is not alone in this particular problem. We probably, again, going back to very early part of our conversation, probably have some of the more severe problems because we have, compared to a lot of other states in the country, we have a very robust growth rate within the state of Texas. And so that causes our problems to be a little bit more severe. But we've also done a pretty good job historically in Texas. As bad as people think it may be, we've done a fairly good job historically with funding transportation. But we have some real challenges out there that we have to face.
So what some of the solutions is, for example, is high-speed rail something that would relieve a significant amount of the congestion?
A significant amount, no. Is it worth doing? Probably so. And I say that, I put the caveat probably in there because I think it probably is. We actually have a study underway right now where we're looking at the potential economic impacts of high-speed rail connecting, in this particular instance, Houston and Dallas. But it alone is not a solution. There is no silver bullet out there. It's going to take every tool we have, both on the supply side, providing more supply of transportation, whether it's transit, whether it's roadways, whether it's rail, whatever the case may be, we're going to have to provide more supply. As we talked about earlier, we're going to have to do a lot better job of addressing the demand side of the issue. And what do we do to use our system that we have most efficiently and to use the improvements that we're going to make most efficiently? And then it's going to take us adding new means of conveyances, if you will, the high-speed rail being one of them. And so we cannot say that this is going to be the solution. We're going to build more roads, and that's how we're going to solve our transportation problem, because we can't. We can't afford to do that. And even if we could afford it, we don't have enough land. Exactly.
Right. How much can you widen the road?
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, you know, we don't want to pave over what's remaining of the city of Houston. That's not a desirable outcome. So we have to be, it comes down to it, we have to be a lot smarter than we've been in the past. And I think we will do that. And the fact that the state and HGAC, the Houston Galveston Area Council, the City of Houston, the Harris County Toll Road Authority, all of those entities are very, very aware of this. And I think quite frankly, working together very, very well to try to begin to address these problems.
I think so too. You know, who live in Houston think we have traffic, but you know, I have clients that come in from California and from Virginia, for example, and they say, what traffic? You know, they live in Spring or the Woodlands and they work in the medical center, and they don't see that as a long commute at all compared to what they came from in those other states.
Well, I think you're right. I think it has to be, I think you have to keep that in mind. And again, to go back to wrap this up, we are the beneficiaries of a very strong economy and a very healthy, robust economy. And what comes with that is the people who want to live here and work here. And so our challenges are always going to be great, but I think we'll be up to them.
Mm-hmm.
The rainy day fund, real quick, any chance that any of that rainy day fund could make up for some of the shortfall in our transportation problems?
Possibly in the short run. $17 billion, I think, in the rainy day fund. There's going to be a lot of demands on it, and a lot of political will to keep that rainy day fund sacrosanct, if you will. But the fact of the matter is, even if we tapped into it for transportation to $1 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion, whatever the case is, that's not a long-term policy. Mm-hmm. That's a one-off. Okay, mm-hmm. That's you do that once, and then and then 2 years from now,
it's a Band-Aid.
You're back in the same fix.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Well, it's great to have you on the show. Some great information about transportation. We definitely have some issues that we're going to have to resolve over the next few years, and luckily we've got a lot of smart people out there like you that can help us do that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'm Shanna Register.
I'm James Brown.
And you're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. We hope that you will join us here next Sunday, again at 1 p.m. for more real estate news and information